popular questions people have been asking me is, how's life in New York? And have you adapted to life in New York? Well, first of all, I'm still processing this transition. I'm someone who's quite used to moving because I grew up in Malaysia and New Zealand, so I'm used to moving in between two countries and traveling back and forth. What I was really looking forward to, apart from being with my husband, is finding a place to call home and settling down for a long time, just to find that home base. So inshallah, New York is home for a long time. Yeah.
Well done.
You need one for?
It's a beautiful turkey.
Yeah, Ali's a beautiful turkey.
Nice.
Right? Yeah. Ooh.
Pumpkin pie.
This apple.
Apple strudel. And what is this? Pumpkin cake. It's like a...
It's a pumpkin cake, I think. So, yeah, it had.
And what's this pumpkin? Where's your spinach?
It's in the oven.
Okay.
5:30 is gonna be ready.
Ali's getting all the attention.
Yes, he is.
I can't believe we're actually calling him Ali. We got him.
The trendsetter.
And an early farewell to Saitan on this ship.
Thank you for having us.
Our pleasure. We're still celebrating the union of Juan and Shahirah. A beautiful
Thank
union.
you.
Yes.
And then may that honeymoon continue forever. And that flame burn forever.
Yes.
Welcome.
Thank you so much for having us.
I am particularly very grateful. This year has been amazing because of the wonderful union of the two of you. I'm so happy to have you, and Saito, I'm so glad you didn't go home and stay with us for Thanksgiving, and thank you so much for joining us. Annie, thank you so much for coming, and thank you, Mike, for all your efforts for us, for me, and
Thank you.
and so
Amen.
for that reason I'm very grateful.
Now, buon appetito.
Sí.
Buen provecho.
Buen provecho.
Yeah, salud.
Cheers. Good health.
Salud.
You know who sits there?
This year, it's been a couple tough years. We've got tough jobs. But this year, I'm happy to say we are profitable and one of our safest years on record. So, thank you. But I can't just thank the employees, right? It's a family thing. And Jack started this party, Jack Daly, about 30 years ago, and he included the families because he knew more than anyone that the families are just as much part of our success as the people who show up to work every day. So to everyone here, a family member, a friend, whoever, that helps our people get up in the morning and do what they do, the tough work that they do, thank you as well.
Have I adapted to life in New York? Well, I miss my family, of course, but I think the toughest part about this whole thing is having to build relationships and connections from scratch. Having said that, I'm a pretty outgoing person. I'm quite extroverted, and I think New Yorkers are generally outgoing and extroverted too, so it's a good match.
So I just made a new friend. Hi. In Sephora. This is Sadia.
Nice to meet you guys. Chicas.
Chicas.
Oh wow. She's saying girls. Girls.
Estamos en la ciudad.
Ahí, mira el Brooklyn. El puente de Brooklyn. Mira, Mati, mira. Qué hermoso. Míralo allá arriba. I didn't think how beautiful this is. The last time I didn't think. Yeah.
It's magical.
It is. Very nice. It's a nice view because you can see all the way there.
This is Dumbo. Dumbo, next stop, Pier 11, Wall Street.
What has really helped me in my transition to life in New York is the ICNYU, which stands for the Islamic Center of New York University. I really enjoy attending their classes, workshops, and events. I attended a workshop on photography with my friend Elaiza. They also started a series of workshops related to mental health in order to raise awareness on mental health. And I think that's really cool because I think it's something we all should know about. I also attended a Maulid. So a Maulid is an event to praise and celebrate Prophet Muhammad ﷺ, peace be upon him. But it's mainly about reflecting on his life and on his character. So there was a particular speech that I really liked, and it was by Shahirah. It was about the Prophet Muhammad's character, his empathetic character, and how we can also develop and nurture empathy in ourselves. And when I was listening to this talk, I thought, wow, this is so relevant because I think we live in a very individualistic society. And even though we have all these tools for connection, like social media, we're quite disconnected from each other, especially emotionally. So, if anything, social media is a tool for distraction instead of connection. I really want to share some of the points that I learned from this talk by Shahirah. But let's talk about empathy first. Empathy starts with the desire to understand someone, to understand what they're going through, and to be there for them. Dr. Brené Brown described empathy so well in this animated video that I saw. She described it as feeling with people. So in order to have empathy, we have to be connected to our own feelings. We have to be able to relate to our own emotions and experiences before we can relate to another person's emotions and experiences. In other words, in order to be empathetic, we have to be vulnerable and self-aware. Dr. Brené Brown says that it is very rare that a response can make someone feel better. What makes something better is connection. So here are some tips. Tip number 1, work on your self-awareness. Find time to sit in silence, in solitude, and write down your thoughts and feelings. Write down what's bringing you joy, what's troubling you, and what is your purpose. Tip number 2, be a compassionate and attentive listener. When you're listening to someone, do it because you're trying to understand what's going on with them, what's their story, and how they're feeling, not because you're trying to gather information so you can respond to them. Something that I learned in a workshop called compassionate listening is we have to observe someone's body language, but we should also observe the words that they're using to describe their emotions and the facts in the story. Tip number 3, cultivate curiosity about others. Take interest in your friends and family and colleagues. Ask them how they're doing, get to know them a bit better. There's a difference between being curious and being nosy. When you're curious, there is genuine concern and interest in a person. And when you're nosy, You're just taking interest in something that doesn't concern you at all. Prophet Muhammad, peace be upon him, he was a person who cared about people in his community. So when he noticed someone was missing for about 3 days, he would inquire about them. And if he found out that that person was ill, he would visit them. He would pray for them. He would establish connection. Tip number 4, be an approachable person. Smile when you meet other people. Initiate conversations. The Prophet was so approachable that people felt they could enter his house without permission. Not that I am encouraging that at all, but the idea is that he was so conscious of how he made others feel that he was always working on becoming a person that others felt comfortable to be around. He empathized with women. He empathized with the elderly, with children. When a woman came to him and his companions with a question, he would turn to his companions and say, "Look at the intelligence of this woman and her question." He didn't laugh at her for asking a question. And when children approached him, even though he was attending to something important, they wanted to play with him, he would make time for them. He would stop whatever he was doing and play with them, even though his companions were urging him to hurry up. But because he grew up as an orphan, he understood what it feels like to be a child who needs love, nurturing, and attention. The Prophet empathized with the weak and suffering because he too endured a lot of hardships and challenges in his life. For example, he wasn't always accepted by his community. People used to call him a liar. They threw stones and rubbish at him. And he also faced depression when he lost his uncle and his wife and his children. A lot of people ask, what is the point of suffering? If God exists, why would he want us to suffer? Suffering helps us to grow, and it helps us to develop empathy. It reminds us of our own humanity and helps us to see the humanity of others more clearly. Marianne Williamson said something profound about suffering. She said the most wise question we can ask ourselves when we are in deep pain is not, how can I numb or end this pain immediately? The most wise question is to ask ourselves, what is the meaning of this pain? What is it revealing to me? What is it calling me to understand? When we lack empathy, we become blinded by our own fear, ego, and cynicism. We become emotionally insensitive, and there will be an emotional gap between us and others. But when we have empathy, we become the best versions of ourselves. We become loving, caring, nurturing, uplifting. We will become effective leaders, spouses, friends, and so on and so forth. This is why I believe empathy is one of the most powerful skills anyone can have. I truly believe that our purpose on earth is to add light to darkness. But at the same time, I believe in having healthy relationships with others. And I think it's so important to create healthy boundaries and expectations. But that's probably a topic for another time.